Hello everyone, my name is Jenna McDonough. I am an emotional regulation specialist, a children's book author, and the creator of the app Peaceful Mindful Moments for Every Age. And today we are talking Secret Lives of Mormon Wives Season 4. And I'm talking about things that I'm seeing globally within the season, not specific to any situation, episode, or cast member. So, one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of is dysregulation, obviously. So to discuss dysregulation, we must first understand window of tolerance. So I have created a very rudimentary window of tolerance here for you all to look at. So when you are here in your window of tolerance, you are grounded, you are at peace, you are safe, you are regulated, you are living your best life, so to speak. Maybe you have things going on that are out here making you that, you don't have control over, but they aren't affecting your safety, your internal emotional safety. Now, being in a window of tolerance is what you want, right? And you can come out of that window of tolerance for seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, years. People live outside of their window of tolerance for years, especially when they are exposed to long-term stress or abuse consistently. Then they can live outside of their window of tolerance at all times. I'm sure someone you know has had that happen and you have experienced it. Maybe you didn't recognize it until just now when it was explained, or maybe it'll come to you later. But window of tolerance is where you're feeling the safest, the most grounded, the most at peace, the most able to make decisions. When you come out of your window of tolerance because something happens, you have a trauma that gets pressed on, someone upsets you, someone cuts you off in traffic, whatever that might be, you can go either above your window of tolerance into fight or flight mode. So what does that look like? Panic, anxiety, dysregulation, fear, anger, aggression, all of the things, right? So it could also mean fleeing. Like if you're an animal in the woods and you see a predator come upon you, you might just flee. It might mean leaving the group text, storming out of the party. It could be the fight response where you're screaming and yelling and getting upset, right? So we're all seeing all of that happening this season. We're seeing people leave the group chat. We're seeing people leave the party. We're seeing people get upset. We're seeing people yell at each other. So they were maybe in their window of tolerance and they came out of their window of tolerance, or they were already out of it and it just exacerbated it. Now you can come down to below your window of tolerance, which is a freeze response. A freeze response is something like depression, fatigue, feeling numb, unfocused, unmotivated, right? So we see a lot of that as well. So when you go into this freeze response, we see Whitney say she's overwhelmed. Okay, so Whitney's in her window of tolerance, and we think, hopefully, and she has all these amazing opportunities coming at her, right? They're great things, but it's a lot and it's overwhelming, right? So what does she do? She tells her husband, Connor, she's overwhelmed, and she kind of goes into this freeze response where she can't really do anything. She can't travel, she can't do all the things because she's come out of her window of tolerance, and she is experiencing extreme fatigue from this, which is totally natural and normal, but not what any of us would want for ourselves, right? So we're not speaking, I know I just talked about Whitney, but Whitney's things were all good things, and what she was experiencing was overwhelm, and what she did when she was overwhelmed, which was being fatigued, was pulling back and, taking care of herself, which didn't go well amongst her friends and cast members, but she did take care of herself. So the thing that I see a lot, and this is associated with window of tolerance amongst this group of women, is that they have a tremendous amount of self-awareness. They have a tremendous amount of self-awareness about themselves and what's going on and what they're experiencing and why they're experiencing it. And they can also see it in each other and see patterns in each other. Sometimes they see a pattern in a friend, but they're not necessarily recognizing it in themselves, but they're still seeing it, and there's a self-awareness with that. However, they're still coming out of their window of tolerance, which means they're not handling it well. Why are they not handling it well? Well, because maybe they don't have the tools to deal with these things. Not saying all of them, not saying none of them, but somewhere in between. Everyone has their moments. I don't care who you are. I have my moments where you come out of your window of tolerance. And what are you going to do when you come out of that window of tolerance? That's where these healing arts practices and these skills and tools come in. Deep breaths. Maybe it is walking away from the situation so that you can collect yourself and come back and have a conversation and work through it within your window of tolerance. Maybe they're already out of their window of tolerance and it just exacerbates it. So we're seeing varying degrees of this. But what can be done? Well, first, learning to identify the emotion, understand the emotion, which everyone is doing beautifully. They have, as I've said before, a big wealth of self-awareness. But when it's happening, they're not in that moment doing something to regulate when they go into dysregulation. So it's deep breaths. It's a meditation practice. It's a somatic reset. It's a binaural beat. It's something of that nature. What else can be done? Well, you can just generally widen your window of tolerance. So by widening your window of tolerance, that keeps you within regulation more often. That's what it means. You're in your window of tolerance the majority of the time, and it's harder to get you out of that window of tolerance, which I call unseating, but that's a video for another day. So how do you widen your window of tolerance? Meditation practices, mindfulness practices, being present in the moment. These are things that can be worked on and practiced daily to help widen your window of tolerance so that when a trigger gets pressed on, a trauma happens, someone says something to you, you get cut off in traffic, you are not as likely to go into dysregulation. And if you do, you have a tool for when that happens. So that's it for window of tolerance. Any questions, drop them below. Feel free to reach out. I'll be back with the next section real soon.